It's been 5 weeks since I built a Blackwater aquarium using everything Temu recommended, but has it really held up? Were those budget buys a secret hidden gem, or were they a complete disaster? Let's find out. Alright guys, so here's the tank, and as you can see, it's not looking too bad considering how long it has been left. You can see some algae that started to build up here because there's not really a whole lot of flow in this tank, but we're not really looking at that sort of thing today. One thing I will say is this heater is an absolute shower. It does not work at all. It is very limited on the heat that it produces, and the water in this tank is stone cold. Thankfully, there is nothing left in this tank anymore because unfortunately, because of that heater, the shrimp that I did have in here died, which I was a little bit annoyed about, but it's probably a little bit my fault, to be honest. I mean, this is in a shed, so although there is insulation in here, it doesn't always get that warm, especially in the winter time. So yeah, I probably could have put a heater in it, or a bigger one, or a lid on it or something, but let's be honest, a 10-watt USB heater, which was over here, isn't exactly going to do anything. But having said that, USB wise, this little light isn't doing too bad of a job. It doesn't really get that hot. Like, I can see I can touch it with my hand, and it does a decent job lighting up the aquarium, so it does actually look really cool. My favorite thing in here is definitely the wood. It is absolutely amazing. It's done everything I need it to, and I definitely will be ordering more of this stuff. It's really good quality actually, and yeah, it's sort of held up really nicely inside the tank, which is really cool, and it gives that really nice amber hue to the aquarium, which is awesome. If we're talking about products that probably aren't the best, this little mini glass scraper here isn't exactly the most strongest. It does maybe what it needs to on the tank, but you can see that I'm pulling it and twisting it, and it's not exactly got much grip here, so it probably would get a little bit of a bad rating. I mean, it does a tiny bit of a job, but it's not anything to shout home about, and certainly not in a aquarium of this size, for example, because you would have loads of issues. You would need something bigger and stronger. So I mean, it does its job vaguely, as you can see up here. Let me turn off the lights. You can see up the top there, it's done a little bit of a job on some of the glass, but I mean, it's not really doing anything major or anything dramatic there. One thing that I definitely thought was really solid was the sponge filter in the tank right here. Now I got it powered by a little pump. I'm not going to pull it out because it'll just disturb anything, but that was actually really good, and it's done a job. I mean, I'll wait till it gets all clogged up and then I have to clean it, but it's a sponge filter. You really can't go wrong with sponge filters. They are your bread and butter if you're a fish keeper. So yeah, I mean, it's good for what it does. It produces a bit of movement and surface agitation. You can see up there, it's bubbling quite a bit because it's slightly above the surface. So you can probably tell the amount of power that's probably in there is decent enough for this size aquarium, definitely. So yeah, I mean, worth checking out that one, definitely. Of additional glass scrapers, this one here has been very mixed in my views, to be honest. I mean, putting this onto the glass, the actual blade itself is decent enough, which I'm trying to get off with one hand without scratching myself, but you can see here the blade itself is okay. I did a bit of a tidy up of my reef tank down there earlier, and it done a really good job on it. The only problem is this bit popped off the stick when I was using it, and this bit also broke as well. It sort of kept popping off, and I could hear a lot of cracking on this piece of wood here, which is this stick. So I personally would say take it with a pinch of salt. Like, I mean, if you want something that's, you know, relatively cheap, I mean, it does the job definitely, but you know, if you're looking for overall quality, then it's definitely something that you're not going to get with something like this. All right, so I want to hear your thoughts now. Which of these products do you think stood the test of time, and which one would you never trust in your own tank? So lastly, probably the one thing that I did think was really good quality was this plant holder here. There's like a hydroponic plant pot basically, and as you can see, based on if you watch the previous build, the peace lily actually wilted really badly. Now it's probably my fault again. It's in a room that is not exactly hot or anything, mixed temperatures, and probably in a load of water, so it isn't doing the best. I've just moved it the other day to here, so it's started to do a little bit better, but I mean it's not really that great. But that's my fault, that is. I'm never great at doing house plants. They tend to die on me quite easily, but aquarium plants not too bad with. Lastly, the tank itself, not very great. I mean, it's okay if you really want something like this, but I mean, pushing my finger on here, it's really flimsy. You can see that it's shaking right there. One thing that did happen with this is when I moved it from my house, where I set it up, to here, water got all under this seal and it was just pouring out all over my table. So I had to get a towel. You can probably see the towel just there. I had to get a towel around the back of it basically to stop the water from leaking everywhere. And also, I have no idea why they do this, but in this tank specifically, there was a hole in it, and you actually get given a rubber bung to plug the hole with, which I didn't realize when setting it up. And I started pouring sand in it, and I wondered why, like, half of the sand was just falling out. And then I lifted the tank up, and of course it was all over my kitchen unit, which my missus was really happy about. But yeah, once I got it plugged, then yeah, it was all good to go. But still not sure as to why that happens. Maybe someone can answer it in the comments section below. I'd say overall probably 6 out of 10 maybe. Should we give? Like, I mean, the aquarium was passable, the heater was shocking, the glass scraper was okay. I think probably the best things were the wood, the light, the plant holder, and definitely the sponge filter. So, you know, I'd give it sort of probably about a 6, yeah, 6 out of 10. So I'd say buying from Temu wasn't a total disaster. There were definitely a few surprises along the way. The tank itself wasn't the worst I've seen, but next time I probably would be tempted to buy a glass one for better overall quality. The Driftwood was easily the standout product, and while the peace lily didn't survive, which I would admit was my fault, the delivery time was so impressive. And could you find the same stuff cheaper? Possibly. Would I give it another go? Yeah, I probably would. The question I put to you is this: trusting Temu to build a Blackwater tank is one thing. For a better fish though, do I open that can of worms, or should I leave that topic well alone?